Why, hello, everybody. It's 10 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and begin. My name is Becky Mitchell. I'm the person that's kind of working behind the scenes here on this call, so I'll be admitting people in. I do want to let you know that we have not given you guys the option to unmute yourselves just because we have had an incident in the past where a thing got hacked. So we want to make sure that you guys are not exposed to anything you shouldn't be exposed to. That being said, if you do have questions, please just utilize that chat box. And I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I'm monitoring that chat box so that we can address anything that you would like to bring up. On that note, I'm going to turn it over to Fatima Steps, who's going to be facilitating our meeting today. Thank you again for joining us.
Good morning, everyone. As Becky said, I'm Fatima Steps, and I'm a program coordinator with licensing. And Ebony Russ was unable to join us this morning, so I'll be facilitating the meeting this morning. So I'd like to welcome you to our July provider meeting. Um, as Becky said, that everyone is muted, so please utilize the chat box. I'd like to begin this morning by asking everyone for any things that you've been doing at your agencies that have been working well, any positive um, things that's been going on. We always like to hear the positive. So if anyone would like to share some of those things, then we'd be happy to hear it. It may help someone. So please share.
And instead of typing, if you didn't want to, if you just want to raise your hand, I will temporarily unmute yourself too. I'm sorry, it makes it a little awkward.
And please raise your hand if anyone wants to share. We'd love to hear your stories. Well, okay. I'd like to just cover a few things that every the workers have been discussing with us, some issues or barriers they've been having at facilities, and we'd like to share with you all. Um, as you know, or many of you should know, some our workers can perform after hours visits, and these visits can be anytime after regular business hours. Some workers have been encountering not being able to get in the facilities timely, or waiting for particular administration staff before they're allowed to conduct their visits. And this should not be occurring, at least for a long duration of time before they're allowed access to the buildings. So I'd like to make that known. And we would appreciate if you as administrators or would just to educate your staff on what licensing does, and that the workers can come out unannounced. It can be after hours, it can be at night, it can be on the weekends, just after hours visits. So not all visits will be scheduled. So if you could please assist us with this, we'd really appreciate it. Did anyone have anything on that or to share? I do know that some of you have um, gates around your properties that may require a access code in order for outside parties to gain access to your grounds. So please be in conversation with your specialist that if they need the code, who to contact or to share the code with them. This has always been helpful in the past. We'd also like to discuss reporting matters. What we see or have been seeing with some agencies is not knowing what type of incidents to report to licensing or not reporting timely. Um, and I'd like to just direct you to licensing standards 112, 110.12 and 110.17 that lets you know what standards that you should be reporting to your licensing specialist by the next business day. Anytime there's a maltreatment report that you're made aware of or that your agency has to report, you should be reporting it to your licensing specialist by the next business day and giving them the information on that report. Um, if it involves another staff person at your facility, you should also provide your corrective action for that staff person. We have made some recent changes in case some of you aren't aware. In the past, you have been able to submit your interim corrective actions by email, but now we're requiring everyone to provide that in a Word document. And that Word document should include whatever your interim corrective action is, who it involves, and it should be signed by whoever is implementing the plan, as well as the person the plan is for. That document should be provided to your licensing specialist. Does anybody have any questions about that? I know that everyone may not be accustomed to doing that, but I did want to share that in case you are not aware and let you ask any questions if you have any.
We do have a question. Yep, we do have a question that popped up in our chat box. Can we get clarification on what serious injuries means as to, and really kind of specifically, what is the standard you're talking about?
In 110.17, it does not go into detail what serious injuries is, granted. However, how licensing is currently viewing that is any time you transport a child to seek emergency care, you should be providing that report. And this would include acute care.
All right, and I also see that June has her hand raised. June, you may be able to unmute yourself. If you can't, I will have that for you shortly.
Okay, yes. Let's see, in regards to the corrective action, we had a situation, I guess, a couple of months ago that occurred where the child made an allegation. So, but if you're asking us to do a corrective action and it turned out to be unsubbed, you're writing a corrective action for something unsubbed. You understand what I'm saying?
Anytime there's an accepted maltreatment report on an employee, you should automatically implement an interim corrective action for that employee because licensing doesn't allow a person that's under investigation for maltreatment to work direct and unsupervised with children. So whenever you have a person is being investigated, that person isn't allowed to work direct and unsupervised with children. So that should be an automatic part of your interim corrective action that you submit to your specialist. Whatever the plan that you are proposing to your specialist should include that person not being able to be left to work direct and unsupervised with children. The direction of your corrective action should be to keep children safe, to prevent any type of intimidation or anything like that. Now, in the occurrence when the investigation is done and you are notified that it was unsubbed, you should let your specialist know. And at that time is when they're able to come to work under normal duties. But you should be in contact with your specialist. A lot of times you may know what the findings are before your specialist knows. So in the event that you are made aware of what the determination was for that report, then you should contact your specialist and let them know that you've gotten that information and what you should do.
All right, we have a couple of questions here in the chat kind of regarding just really how can, like, what kind of format should they use when sending you these incidents? Like, is there a Word document? Is there a template? Do we have an example that we could send out? Those are kind of general questions there.
Okay, there is no template, but what is being requested is a Word document, and you are able to formulate that um, depending upon whatever the reporting is and what is needed for that particular incident. So you can work with your specialist on what is needed for it, but there's no particular um, outline or template that is being required, but it does need to be in a typed Word document and signed by all responsible parties.
And I see here that Joyce in the chat box, she's kind of given us an outline of what she uses and is willing to share. I think that's great.
That's great.
Yeah, if you want to even just put your email address out there, you may be able to, they may be able to contact you to get that sample that they use. I think that's awesome. The other question here comes from one of our specialists, and she's kind of asking about, like, what about if like the facility has access to x-rays or other heavy equipment? Do they still need to report that to PRLU?
I'm sorry, Becky, what was the question again?
Oh yes, I think they're talking about things that don't really like transfer well in a Word document, such as x-rays, and she used other heavy equipment. So I think just things that really are not easily emailed. Do they still need to get that to their licensing specialist?
If you have pictures that you're sharing or anything like that, you are able to utilize fax as well. Um, if scan works, if pictures work, or whatever. But I am talking about your type interim corrective action documents when you implement those mainly. Did that answer the question?
All right, and then we have just for clarification, she's just wanting to make sure that she's understanding this correctly. If it's just like a regular doctor's visit, just getting like their regular shots and all of that, do they still need to submit an incident report? And then they had an example, like there was a youth that just did a backflip and scraped his face. Does he need to submit, do they need to submit a report for them?
Regular doctor visits are not incidents or injuries. So no, those would not need to be sent to your specialist. However, if a child falls and scrapes his face, and if it's bad enough where you have to seek medical attention, then it should be.
Well, that's the everything that we've got in the chat. Just feel free though to add more questions there, but also too, if you just want to even talk, just go ahead and raise your hand and I'll be sure to unmute you so that you can talk as well.
I did also wanted to share with everyone to make sure that you are maintaining your reports on file. I'm sure you probably are, but I just wanted to remind you that anytime you contact the hotline, those reports should be maintained on file and monitored by the licensing specialist. So make sure that you're doing that, and also reporting any types of incidents that occur that is a disruption to regular operation of your businesses. For instance, if there's a water main that goes out and kids have to be removed, or any type of uncommon issues, air conditioning going out, or just these different things do need to be reported to your specialist as well. We do need to be kept in a loop. Anytime you remove children, we need to know where they're going Just make sure that you're keeping your specialists in the loop of whatever is going on at your facilities.
All right, we've had a couple more questions here. So if the police is called to the home, do they need to send a report?
Anytime there is an arrest, is the wording on the standard. You should be reporting those.
And then they were just wanting some clarification on what like a medical attention, what you mean by medical attention. We're kind of back to the kid who did the backflip and scraped his face. Does that mean if they have to go to the doctor or the hospital, or if they have to go just like to their nurse that's on site? Do they need to send the report if they just have to visit the on-site nurse?
If some of you do have nursing staff on site, not everyone has that. So some places, any injury a child has, which is a good practice, I would like to add, takes them for medical attention. If it is an injury like a small injury where your nursing staff on site can attend it, then not initially, no. But let's say it's something that progresses where you thought it was something small and the child had to be eventually taken for other medical services, then I would say, yes, you would need to report that. But anytime you have to seek emergency medical services, whether that's at a hospital for an emergency room, or you have to call in and the doctor has to see them, immediately, then you should be reporting those types of incidents. We are trying to track, what's going on with the kiddos at the facilities, what type of injuries and incidents that are occurring. Any other questions about that? I would like to bring up that we've had some recent changes in the unit, and some of you have gone through this several times with your change of specialists. However, we have 3 specialists that will be handling all of our residential facilities, and I would like to introduce them. Hopefully all of them are on the call, but we will have 2 specialists designated to our PRTFs, or psychiatric facilities, and those specialists are Stephen Pitts and Chelsea Fardell. Both of them will be handling all PRTFs, and I believe this goes into effect next week. So you will be seeing mainly those 2 faces if you have PRTFs. There may be times where you may see other faces as well, but they will be handling all of those agencies. And we also have Jeremy Myers, who will be handling all regular residential facilities. So if you have a regular residential facility / emergency shelter, Jeremy will be your specialist. So he will be the person you will need to contact and start sending your emails and questions to. And Chelsea and Stephen, I would suggest that you send out an email to your individual PRTFs to let them know that you are now their specialist, and reach out to them, and so they will know your contact information. So does anyone have any questions about those changes? Ebony did want me to bring up a point of elopements. We do see different types of elopements across the board. At times they're higher, at times they're lower. And we would like for anyone to share if you have implemented any procedures or anything at your prospective places that has reduced your number of elopements that you could share with us. Anyone? No one? Okay. Um, I would like to open it up to any specialists that if there's something I didn't cover, that barriers that you have been seeing in your facilities that you'd like to share um, or address that may help other providers as well, please feel free to do so. Okay. Any chat box questions, Becky?
Yeah, I actually see that several people are kind of asking here, like, who's going to be my specialist now? That's really what's kind of coming up. Is there a way, Fatima, that you know that we can get that communicated just out? Are our specialists planning on reaching out to their new placements?
Your new specialist should reach out to you. They should send you an introduction email, letting you know that they're your new specialist. As I said, there will be 3 specialists now handling residential facilities. Jeremy Myers will be handling all regular residentials. And so if you have a regular residential, no matter what part of the state you are in, Jeremy Myers is your assigned specialist starting next week. Chelsea Bardell has the Northern Arkansas um, psychiatric facilities from one end of the state to the other, actually. And Stephen has the Southern Arkansas psychiatrics of the state from one end to the other. So if you're in those areas, then you can pretty much determine that if you'll have Chelsea or Stephen, but everyone should send you out a email letting you know that they are now your new specialists.
And can you just, one of the questions in the chat box, can you just confirm again, like, when are these changes like happening? When are they going into effect? When do they get their new specialist?
Well, your new specialist is, my understanding is on the 6th, this goes into, after the holiday. On the 6th, this goes into progress and goes into effect. And so everyone should they may send you out an email, before then, but it goes into effect on the 6th.
And thank you,
And
Stephen. I see that you posted the PRTFs that you're going to be the licensing specialist over in the chat.
that's
Thank you so much.
great. Would you, with Jeremy, Stephen, and Chelsea, also share your email address in the chat box? And if you, Jeremy, I know you may have too many to put in the chat box, but share your email address and he will send you out a introduction email. But Chelsea and Stephen, you may want to share your facilities as well.
I do want to let you all know there was a question about, are these recordings going to be on the website? We are getting them recorded and they're all put on the DHS website. You can even see the ones that have been done in the past. I'll just kind of re-put that link here in the chat box for you if you need to share this video with anybody.
That's great. Does anyone have any questions? I do see we have Nora on the line as well. Nora, would there be another background check or regulatory check meeting coming up that our providers may need to know about, or are those done? I think she's muted, Becky.
I'm on mute. Can you hear
You're
me?
off.
Oh, there you are.
Mhm.
Woo, I was on mute. Hey, good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being in this meeting. First, I would like to introduce, talking about changes. I know Ms. Fatima mentioned a couple of changes. Well, there's been quite a bit of changes. So now we have a new assistant director uh, for the criminal background unit. So it is Ms. Pam Burton. So Ms. Pam, please introduce yourself. Ms. Pam?
Hi, I'm sorry, I was on mute as well. Hi, everyone. I am honored to meet you all. I am looking forward to working with you. If there's anything that we can do to assist you guys, please do not hesitate to reach out to myself as well as to Ms. Nora. I am the Assistant Director over Health and Nutrition, the Division's Quality Assurance team, and our regulatory check team. So by all means, if there's anything we can do for you guys, we look forward to working with you and trying to help you as much as possible. Thank you.
We do have a question that just popped up about the state background checks. They want to know, are they to continue to send the child maltreatment requests and the results of the child maltreatments?
Okay, I'm sorry. What was the question again?
Are we to continue to send in the child maltreatment request and results of the child maltreatments?
Yes, at this point, nothing has changed. I know that per the new legislation act that just occurred, as you all aware, the FBIs will be required. One thing that we are asking the providers, all of you, and thank you so much for everything you do. Thank you so much. We would like for you to, any time that you decide, if you have already got your full approval, because you only requested the criminal and the child maltreatment, and you've been approved, if you can kind of just notify Miss Cindy to let her know, hey, Miss Cindy, I'm running the FBI. That way we can immediately go back and expedite that process. So your help in this matter will be much, much appreciated. In the meantime, just continue to do what you do. And Miss Cindy, if I'm missing something, please speak up, because Miss Cindy is our expert, our guru with the child welfare aspect with PRLU, and Miss Brenda Burr. So they're the ones that will always be. We all pitch in, but that's their expertise. So if I'm forgetting something, ladies, please speak up and let's help the providers. And I think at this point, someone asked the question, when is our next training? Our last training was in, I think it was this month, but we haven't made any other, we haven't scheduled another training, but we can do that also. If that is what is required to better assist the providers, we can go back to doing that. If that is what everyone wants, so be it, we will make it happen.
Thank you, Nora and Pam. Becky, I see a question. I don't know. I thought I already answered it, but I'm not sure. What parties would sign the interim corrective action plan? Just in case anyone missed that, the parties would be whoever that corrective action plan is for, and the supervisor or administrative staff that implements the plan. And I would also say that if you have a plan where another individual is going to be supervising a staff or something like that, then the responsible individual should be aware of the plan and should sign it as well.
Is this plan due the next business day? When's it due?
You should turn in your interim corrective action plan immediately. If you know about a report that's been accepted on your staff, and a lot of times you all know this information before we do. So your report is by the next business day if you're aware of it. And so it is my suggestion that you turn in your interim corrective action plan when you turn in your incident reports. Um, this allows the specialist to have it, to know that information and provide that information to upper management. This also allows your agency to go ahead and know what you're going to have in progress and let us know. So I would say whenever you're aware of something or your incident or a maltreatment report, you should go ahead and naturally implement one.
Right. And I see another background check question that came up here for you, Nora. It says, are fingerprints and FBI background checks, will they be a recurring check or a one-time check like it is with a QRTPS? QRTP, sorry.
That would depend on the program that you're with.
So if they have questions about that, like should they refer to the regulation books, or would they contact you to figure out if they need to, if it's a reoccurring thing?
They can contact us, contact the licensing specialist too.
Yes. For our providers, your staff at current, our regulations only require initiation if a person has not resided in the state of Arkansas for 5 consecutive years, and they've lived out of state. However, that may change, but currently those are the regulations that are in effect. Any more questions or any information anyone would like to share? Any barriers or anything
Thank
that
you. Thank you, Misha Martin. She just shared some things too. She says, if you're a provider to DCFS, you have a different requirements for your background checks based on our contracts. So make sure that you're connecting in with what your requirements are with DCFS. And Misha, if you'd like to speak more about that, feel free to just raise your hand and I'll go ahead and I will unmute you.
Make sure I'm unmuted. Yeah, so just to be clear, so Fatima is right for licensing, no FBI firm unless you've lived out in the state for 5 years. The new law will go into effect soon. But if you're a DCFS provider for QRTP, emergency shelter, and a few other programs, all staff have to have an FBI background check and a criminal background check before they can go to work. And you should be inputting that into Chris, into the portal, so that we can track and monitor that if you have a contract with DCFS.
Thank you, Misha. Does anybody have any questions about that? Well, if there are no more questions, I think we can wrap this meeting up. I'd like to thank you all for participating, and those who have participated from our other units and divisions, thank you all as well. Again, Stephen and Chelsea and Jeremy should have provided their contact information in the chat box. If you are have a residential facility and want to know who your specialist is, Your contact information should be in the chat box.
Well, thank you guys so much for attending today.
Okay, have a good day.